Now, Donald Trump has addressed the fallout from Tucker Carlson's fiery interview with Senator Ted Cruz and the question of whether America's role in the Israel-Iran conflict will fracture the president's supporter base.
Have you seen the Tucker Carlson Senator Ted Cruz interview? It seems like this issue on whether or not the United States should strike is kind of dividing a lot of your supporters.
No, my supporters are for me. My supporters are America first. They make America great again. My supporters don't want to see Iran have a nuclear weapon. Tucker's a nice guy. He called and apologized the other day because he thought he said things that were a little bit too strong, and I appreciated that. And Ted Cruz is a nice guy. I mean, he's been with me for a long time. I'd say once the race was over, he's been with me ever since, right? But very simple. If they think that it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon, then they should oppose me, but nobody thinks it's okay. People that don't want, I don't want to fight either. I'm not looking to fight. But if it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do.
There are certainly many, not a majority, but many on the right and many independents who do not want to see America involved in another foreign war. It's a position Tucker Carlson has articulated very well, including in the interview with Senator Cruz. Let's have a look at a little of that exchange.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of it, it says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my... You pull out the phone and use the...
It's in Genesis. But so you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
And earlier today, Donald Trump gave more insights into his conversation with Tucker Carlson after that interview.
It's interesting because I did ask Tucker, I said, well, are you okay with nuclear weapons being in the hands of Iran? And he sort of didn't like that. He didn't want to really, but he sort of didn't like that. And I said, well, if it's okay with you, then you and I do have a difference. But it's really not okay with him. Therefore, you may have to fight, and maybe it'll end, and maybe it'll end very quickly. But there's no way that you can allow, whether you have to fight or not, you can allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon because the entire world will blow up. I'm not going to let that happen.
Joining me now is President of the Center of the American Experiment, John Hinderaker. John, thank you so much for your time tonight. How concerned is Donald Trump about his base fracturing over this issue? I've got to say, he didn't seem too concerned during that press conference.
Rita, he's not concerned and he doesn't need to be concerned. Tucker Carlson does not speak for any significant portion of Donald Trump's base or the Republican Party on this issue. The idea that there is a significant part of the Republican Party that is pacifist or isolationist or anti-Israel is a fiction. You know, there just isn't. Trump's base is with him, and I think he knows that. And there's poll data we could talk about if you want to, Rita, that I think really supports that.
John, let's look at some of that polling. Fox News has released data just today showing 73% of registered voters think Iran poses a real threat to the US. That's a 13-point increase from just 6 years ago. Interesting, too, when you look at the breakdown of the different voter groups. A majority of Democrats, 69%, 82% of Republicans and 62% of independents agree Iran poses a real risk. And those numbers are up from 2019 across the board. But, John, when it comes to the strikes against Iran, it's evenly split. 49% approve and 46% disapprove. But Republicans, 73% approval, well above the independents and Democrats at 32%. Is that data where you'd expect it to be? It's still showing that the majority of Republicans stand with the Trump administration in backing these strikes?
Well, that's right. There's a partisan split here, Rita, as there is on virtually every issue in the United States. But, another survey came out today that I think is really interesting. It was from JL Partners. They surveyed Americans, they surveyed Republicans, but they also surveyed self-identified MAGA Republicans. And that's interesting because 81% of self-identified MAGA Republicans say that they support Israel's strikes on Iran, and 65% of MAGA Republicans say they support American strikes on Iran, even though that really is not even on the table at this point. And by 84% to 3%, think about that, Rita, in polling, 84% to 3% MAGA Republicans support Israel, not Iran. So again, I think Trump's base is with him. I think he's got solid support there.
Now, how do you see the administration handling the next phase of this conflict? President Trump said today he hasn't made up his mind about the US joining Israel in striking Iranian nuclear sites. And he also said he will likely come to his decision 1 second before it's due. Now, I presume this is his strategy to keep everyone guessing. Do you think, John, he knows precisely what he's going to do?
Well, maybe not, Rita. I think what he does depends on how things play out. He won't strike Iran unless the Israelis need us to strike Iran. And the way it looks to me is there's only one scenario where that could be true, and that is the nuclear base at Fordow, the Iranian base, which is buried deep under a mountain. And the American bunker buster bombs may be the only thing that can get through that mountain and destroy that base. I don't know. The Israelis may be able to disable it even without that weaponry. But I think if push comes to shove and that weaponry is needed to finish off Iran's nuclear program, then I think it's likely that Trump will give the green light.
What about targeting the supreme leader? Is that something that is a step too far for the administration? Is regime change really not a goal right now? It's all just about eliminating Iran's nuclear ambitions?
Rita, regime change absolutely needs to be the goal. If the mullahs stay in power, they are going to get back they'll reconstitute Hamas and Hezbollah, which have been devastated. A little time will go by and they'll start working on the nuclear weapons again. The world is not safe until Iran starts to become a normal, modern country, which is what I think the large majority of Iranians want. So one way or another, I do think regime change needs to be the goal. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean killing the Ayatollah. I think there are various ways that could take place. In the end, it's going to be up to the Iranian people, but I think we should do what we can to try to bring that about.
Now, you mentioned the Iranian people and what they want. I want to play you bit of footage from Iran. This was shot by a man in Tehran, footage of Israeli fighter jets over the city near the Supreme Leader's residence.
آسمون تهران میدون فردوسی ماشاءالله ماشاءالله بزن حرومزاده رو بزن.
I speak Persian and those translations are accurate. He was just pleading with them to strike, to hit the targets. Undoubtedly, there are many Iranians in Iran and those who've already fled who want to see the end of this regime, and they really don't care if it's Israel or the US that make it happen, John.
Well, Rita, you're familiar with the concept of a preference cascade, where people have been oppressed and nobody can say what he really thinks, because if you do that, you might get shot. And then things start to change and things start to shift, and all of a sudden people start saying what they actually think. And once that begins to happen, things can change very, very fast. And we have seen regimes collapse virtually overnight. It turns out that they're much more fragile than people thought. And I'm hopeful that may happen in Iran, that the Iranians may find a way to rise up and get rid of this terrible regime.
Now, before you go, just on domestic matters, the inflation rate has been lower under Donald Trump than the Biden administration. It's stayed low and, in fact, dropped despite tariff fears. Real wages are up slightly. The illegal immigration crisis is certainly over. How do you judge this second term compared to Donald Trump's first term?
Well, he's off to a much better start, Rita, no doubt about that. And I think a key point is he is fulfilling his campaign promises. He's doing what he said he was going to do. He's closed the border. Real wages are up. Inflation is flat. He's at least begun the process of trying to get a handle on government spending, and he's starting to rebuild the military. These are things he promised to do, and he's doing them. So I think he's off to a terrific start.
John Hinderaker, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Rita.